On today's Fast Friday, the Fujifilm X-T50 and the best setup tips in the known universe. Hi everyone, welcome to Pal to Tech. The more I shoot with and use the Fujifilm X-T50 camera, the more I really love it. However, there is one issue with this camera and other Fujifilm cameras as well, the default settings that are applied when you first turn the camera on. Some of them actually end up in giving you a much less than optimal experience than I know you deserve. One very important thing to note, the menu item choices that you see are specifically determined by what position that your focus mode is set in. For example, if you set it to manual, you'll see right here that a number of items in your menu are now grayed out because they will not work when your camera's in manual focus mode. And if you do see that and you want to adjust them, just go ahead and put your focus mode dial to either S or C. So what we're going to go over first are the settings for stills, and then I'll jump into the movie settings. So go right into menu, and by default, the camera only shoots JPEG files. And I actually think that you should shoot in both RAW and JPEG. It's very possible that in a few years from now, you could go and open up a RAW file and actually make it look even better than you could today. I just go into image quality and change this to fine plus RAW and you're good to go. Second setting right here, they've chose uncompressed, and that is a huge file size and you really don't need that. I would recommend changing this to lossless compressed. The difference between compressed and lossless compressed is indistinguishable. However, the file sizes are massively different. Next is the film simulation dial setting. I have an entire video on this, so I'm going to skip this one for now. AFC custom settings. Now, it is default to set 1 multi-purpose, and for the most part, that's fine. However, if you are noticing issues with your autofocus, I strongly recommend trying out the other settings here. But to just get you started, I would leave it at number 1. Speaking of improving autofocus, I would also make sure that pre-autofocus is turned on. However, this will use more battery power, so what, right? I mean, don't you want better performance? Moving down here, AF plus MF, I would definitely turn that on as well. The reason is that if your camera autofocuses and you suddenly want to make a quick adjustment manually, you can do so. It really does give you the best of both worlds. And honestly, if you're just starting out, I would disable touchscreen mode shot. I cannot tell you how many times I accidentally bump the screen and take a shot. Okay, moving into the camera itself, I would go to photometry and I would change it to center weighted. This obviously is debatable, but I think that if you're just starting out with a camera like this, you'll have more control and be able to visualize better your exposure if you know where you aim the center of the camera at. Shutter type, you might want to put this to mechanical plus electronic. This also gives you the best of both worlds because the camera will use the mechanical shutter all the way up to 1/4000th of a second, and then the electronic shutter will kick in if needed. I've got a whole video on the different types of shutters if you have any questions on that. We're not going to use this little movie camera section of the stills menu to adjust our movie settings, because when you change the camera over to shooting video, you get an entire full-blown all features menu, and that's what we're going to do in just a sec. Okay, moving down to here, and unless you find it distracting, I would enable electronic level setting to 2D, and this gives you a quick way to see if your camera is level or not, especially when you're adjusting it on a tripod. It's great for that. DISP custom setting. This is a real important one. I would go in here and turn on your histogram. If you don't know what a histogram is or why it's important you have it available at all times, check out my video on the histogram. Another setting that I think is overlooked for a lot of people shooting outdoors, especially in sunlight, is information contrast adjustment. I would kick that up into high contrast. Now we go into button dial setting, and this one right here, shoot without card, should never have been defaulted to on, because you can obviously go out and shoot a bunch of photos without an SD card and they're not stored anywhere, right? The camera should never allow you to be shooting unless there is an SD card to save the photos in. So yes, I would definitely turn this one to off. While you're at it, if you have manual lenses or anything other than a Fujifilm lens, shoot without lens should be turned on. I would have both of these just like this, and you don't have to worry. If you're not using the touchscreen or if you find that it's a distraction, just go ahead and turn this off. Now we get to one of the most important and overlooked settings on all Fujifilm cameras, and I cannot believe this is set by default. Performance, okay? If you go in here, you have 3 choices and Fujifilm defaults to normal. That is like buying a Ferrari that defaults to only going at 30 miles an hour. Why on earth would you want to do that? So before the sun sets today, put it to boost. and that will improve everything. If you're noticing that when you're looking through the LCD screen and it's just skipping frames almost, that's most likely the reason why. Put it in boost, forget about it. Yes, it will use more battery power, but why would you get such a nice, expensive, and fully capable camera if you don't intend on making the most out of it? Once you do put it in boost mode, you can go down here and choose one of these settings right here. I like to set mine to EVF LCD resolution priority. Next, and this one right here is very important when you're shooting video, and that is you need to put this to high. Yes, you're going to get this little scary looking warning message. Don't worry about it. Put it to OK. Auto power off temperature should be high, and performance should be boost. Now, if you don't plan on using the smartphone app or connecting this camera to Wi-Fi, you can save a little bit of battery power if you go into here, Bluetooth, and make sure that it is off. All right, so that concludes the stills settings. Now let's go into the movie menu. And obviously to do that, you press the drive button, go up by one position to the movie icon, and now you're in movie mode. Go into the menu of movie mode. First choice, movie setting list, and Fujifilm has defaulted to a setting on here that I think you can improve. By default, it's set to 1080 HD. I would change that to 4K 16:9. Next, down here, I think you should increase the bitrate for your videos because they will look better and you'll have more data to work with when you're editing them. Go right into here, and you'll see that you can go all the way up to 360 megabits per second. The camera was defaulted at 50. So a nice balance between, the highest quality possible and considering storage space on your SD card. Remember, this camera only has one slot here. I would go with 200 megabits per second. Also, if you do plan on shooting a lot of video and if you're going to get into F-Log and that sort of thing, I would recommend you go here and bump this up from 8-bit to 10-bit. Remember that a number of the settings that are in your movie menu are the same as they are in your stills menu, except the camera stores them as two separate settings, right? One for stills and one for movie mode. So what we're going to do here will affect movie mode only. And for that, with photometry, I recommend you put this to center weighted. Also, go into the AF/MF section of your menu under AF mode, and I would strongly recommend you set this to area because it'll emphasize more of what's in the center of your viewfinder in terms of what it's going to autofocus on. I really think this is a benefit for a lot of people who are using this, especially for the first time and not really used to movie mode. Put it in area. The most important autofocus mode of all time, especially for movie shooting on Fujifilm cameras, is right here, AFC custom setting. I would go into AF speed and I would crank that up to 5. Tracking sensitivity isn't bad at 2 at all. And for now, I would leave it like that. Just like we did for stills, I would put AF/MF to on. Going into audio, we're fine as is. Time code, leave all that default. And there you go. You now have better default settings that you can work with, apply your own adjustments to, than what you would have had if you had just turned it on out of the box as is. Well, that wraps up today's Fast Friday, and I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you found the video helpful or at least entertaining. And if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. I'm going to be signing off now, but have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you in a new video next week. Take care. When the X-T4 was released, they made a number of changes to burst mode. Boost, fucking boost, not burst. They made a number of changes to burst mode. Now with boost mode. It's boost mode, not burst mode, boost mode. I have screwed this up so many times. Let's do it again.